Hello, everybody. My name is Genevieve Peterson. I'm an officer in the Australia Territory, and it is my absolute privilege to be here today with Spencer. Welcome, Spencer.
Hi, thank you.
It's my pleasure. Do you want to start by telling us a bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Spencer. I'm a queer trans man from Melbourne. I've been a part of the Salvation Army since I was born. Both of my parents are Salvation Army officers. Um, yeah, I'm a creative person and I love the creative industry, trying to get into it at the moment, and I would love to have that as a part of my ministry. So, yeah.
Awesome. Sounds amazing. Okay, so we're going to have a bit of a conversation about your experience, and I wonder if it's okay if I ask you, when did you first start to notice that you were maybe experiencing life differently to maybe how other people were your age?
Yeah, so I would say I was probably 5 or 6, maybe 7, when I started to realize that I felt like something was off with being seen as female, being treated as female, especially in a school setting or, at church as well. Um, Being like split into boys and girls, like that just didn't feel right for me. I knew that was supposed to be on the other side, but
Yeah.
I didn't really know what that meant as a child. I never really heard of the word transgender, through my childhood. So I was just very confused about that. And with, bullying at school, as unfortunate, it happens a lot. Um, I didn't want to give them another reason to bully me. So I was really ashamed of these feelings. So I basically just shoved them down as deep as I could till I just basically blocked it out for most of my life. Yeah. So,
That must have been, can I just say, that must have been really hard, because as a kid,
yeah.
life is hard enough, but to
Yeah.
have all those extra pressures on you would have been really confusing. Was there anyone who, even back then when you were sort of 5, 6, 7 years old, that said anything or that you could have talked to, or did you have the language for that?
Not really. I think it was a mixture of, not having the language and no one really noticing anything
Yeah.
that was going on because I hid it so well. I didn't let anyone know, what I was feeling about that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. So that's already a really great lesson for us. I think when we're working with even little kids, that we can
Mm.
start to help them find a language for things.
Mm.
That might be a really helpful thing that we could do for kids who are, I don't know, just exploring or trying to work out life for themselves. Yeah. All right. Thanks for that. That's good. All right. So then you grew up a little bit more. Did things sort of emerge or become real for you a bit more as you grew?
I think as a teenager, these feelings did try to come back up, but I was like, no, we're not dealing with this. I'm just going to deny it
Yep.
for as long as I can.
Yeah, let's see how that
Um,
works with life.
yeah, that's all right. Um, so that obviously didn't work. But during that time, those conversations come up at church, at youth group about, relationships, LGBT community, where we stand as a church. And I had friends who obviously, would disagree with that. And that was really hard because I knew that I was different, and that kind of created conflict within myself of where am I supposed to stand on this when
Mm.
I know that I'm going to end up on the other side, with the LGBT community. So that was quite difficult as well to know where am I in this.
Yeah. Did some of those things help you explore those feelings more, or start the conversation even within yourself? Like, did it bring some of those things up in a positive way, or was it just all, nope, this is unsafe and unhelpful?
Yeah, I think at the beginning it was more unsafe, but I think as I grew a bit, then it was like, okay, this is going to bring up everything that needs to come out, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I imagine that there were some people who were nicer and safer than others. At what age did you start to find people that were safe to speak to and to have these conversations with?
I would say 16, 17. Especially when I moved to Bendigo in 2015, I
Okay.
started going to a house church run by a couple who are a part of the Salvation Army. And more than half of the young people there were a part of the LGBT community.
Wow.
So,
That's
yeah,
a
so that
miracle.
was a really eye-opening place to be in, where you can just come and just be, and you're going to be loved on and accepted for who you are.
That must have made a huge difference.
Yeah, definitely.
Was there something specific about that community that really made you feel like it was a safe space? Something they did, or was it just a
I
miracle?
think with it being a church setting where queer people weren't just pushed to the side, where they were actually a part of the conversation, and they were allowed to be a part of it, and they were told that, they're loved by God the way that they are. I think that was a really important step for me, to be able to accept who I am.
Yeah. So even just it's not just that it was any support group, like it was important to you that it was a church support group, or
Mm.
like a church, a faith community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
definitely.
that's a really helpful thing for us, I think, to learn as well. Um, so you're part of that and you're feeling like it's a safe space. Was there anything okay, just tell me what happened next in the journey. So you're 16, 17 at this point. What happened
Yeah.
after that?
So after I finished year 12, I went to university like straight away. So that would have been 2016. And it was during this year, bullying at school obviously stopped because I wasn't there anymore. And so it was like my brain was finally like, okay, we're safe. Let's actually bring these feelings back up and actually deal with them finally. And yeah, so I was finally able to discover what that meant for me. I realized I had gender dysphoria, and that, yeah, I was transgender. And having that house church was a really big help, because I already had support.
Mm.
And then that led to being able to medically transition very smoothly, because I knew that I was going to have support no matter what I decided to do with my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, well, thank God for that little support group, that faith
Yeah.
community. That's made a
Yeah.
huge difference. Um, can you tell me what would have helped along the way? Do you have any advice? Maybe for faith communities, but maybe just for people in general. I mean, I'm hearing some themes of school was not necessarily a good space for you, and a faith community was really important. Have you got any advice for people who are trying to be advocates?
I think within a church setting, it's really important to have those spaces available for queer people, where they can just come and be and still learn about God, but actually be a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you see a lot where, they're welcome, but they're not really allowed to be a part of it. And I think that's a really important step for us to move forward as a community together.
Yeah, because it's so interesting, isn't it? Like people, I guess my question to you would be, have people tried to make you be different, or have you felt, um, I guess, Christians trying to tell you that God got it wrong, or that somehow you need to change before you can be accepted? Have you felt that come through?
I I mean, thankfully, it wasn't much for me. I know it's a lot worse for some other people. But I did have a couple of people come into the house church and, tell me I need to be cured,
Mm.
and that I need the love of God to stop sinning, which just doesn't make sense because I already have the love of God. So, yeah, that was quite hurtful that they came into my safe space and turned it into something that wasn't safe for me.
You've got someone here who's saying, I love God and I want to be part of this faith community.
Mm,
And you are loved and accepted just as for who you are. It's just that's such a great thing.
mm.
Okay. All right. So, um, Any parting words for us? What is it as a Salvation Army movement? Do you have hope for us? I mean, you're part of us.
Yeah, I would say I do. I think we're starting to move in the right direction. And I know that it's taking time, but I think we will eventually get to the point where like LGBT people will actually be leading this conversation, because that's what we need. We're not going to get anywhere if they're not actually a part of moving forward.
Yeah, that is, thank you for that as well, because of course that makes sense. I mean, who,
Yeah.
who are any of us to say, well, you should think this and you need this?
Mm.
Yes, absolutely. And that sense in which we're as a community together, blended together, as one big dysfunctional family that God's created us to be. Let's embrace that. Well, I just want to say, two things. First of all, just I'm so sorry for any experience that you've had that's been negative, because seeing you here today is just such a joy, because it's so evident that God's in your life and that
Mm.
God has a special plan and purpose for your life, and that plan is perfect, just as God designed it to be.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to seeing your life unfold.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
See ya.